Anybody got opinions? Let it go into my ear, then I block that. Put me on stage, I'ma rock that. Saying you the best, stop that. Phony, I am not
The
that.
Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network, Monday edition. Patrick Wheeler and Zach Lancaster getting ready to kick off a brand new week. Levi Peckinpah's joined us too. He's back in the studio. We are live at Glow Salon and Spa, the new location at 1121 Southwestern. If you haven't seen this place, you got to come check it out. It is very, very nice in here. They got everything going right now perfectly. One-stop shop for Mother's Day. It's one call, one stop, 624-4444, or online at glowsalon-spa.com. This past year's been really hard on moms everywhere, as we know, and the lady in your life needs a relaxing getaway break at least for one day. So if it's your mom or your wife, special aunt or a niece, a day for mom at Glow Salon and Spa, or even a day at the spa every single month, all available here at Glow Salon. Brand new week. Zach, what's happening?
Oh, not much.
How was the weekend?
It was really peaceful. I didn't do much. Helped out my grandparents a little bit. They're renovating their house. They're going to remodel. So we moved some books, moved some bookshelves. Played a lot of video games. Started rewatching Ted Lasso for the 14th time.
Man, I got to get on that. I got to get on that show.
It's so good. How have you not watched
I don't know. I'm, you know why? I'll tell you why. And I'm pretty sure Levi can attest to this, and you can too if you've been playing it. I have been consumed by MLB The Show.
When did that game come out?
It came out on April, what was it, Levi? April 20th, 21st, somewhere in there?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Well, Ted Lasso's been out since August.
Okay, so my excuse is not there. But
Not valid.
Here's the thing, though.
My life has been consumed by MLB The Show since it dropped,
I was gonna
okay?
say,
I'm okay with that.
Ted Lasso can't go yard like Bryce Harper can, though. He can't do that for
Have
you.
you seen Ted Lasso?
No, but I've seen
goes
Bryce
harder
Harper
than
hit me
Bryce
like
Harper.
4 home runs in a game, so I'm just trying to go yard at this point. That's all I'm trying to do.
It's so good. So, and when you watch it, the first time watching it through is just one of the best feelings. The joy you get. And I'll never experience that again, but I started it with my brother yesterday. It was the first time for him watching it. And getting to enjoy his first time was almost as good as watching
One of those
it the first
shows,
time.
huh? Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Too good.
I'm gonna give it a try. Don't
You have
worry.
to. You
Don't
have
worry.
to.
Once I get because the show, it also I love it, but frustrates me to no end. So when that does happen, and I inevitably launch the controller across the room, I'll flip on Ted Lasso.
Make sure you have about 5.5 hours of time.
Okay.
Because there's 10 episodes, they're 36.5 minutes each, and when you watch, you'll just want to watch them through.
Yeah, it's gonna be
very binge-worthy.
very binge-worthy. There we
Very
go. So over the weekend on Friday, we didn't get to talk about any Oklahoma State player being drafted, which we mentioned was somewhat of a surprise. Obviously, kind of thought Tevin Jenkins would be there at the end of the first round, and then he actually dropped even a little further than I thought in the second round, but was eventually taken in the second round. And he went to Chicago, so we had the team right, but we had the wrong round. He ended up going to the Bears, and I tell you guys what, we had talked about how the Bears had been winners on our draft board as of Monday because they moved up to get Justin Fields. Well, they basically got a lineman that they probably thought at one point was going to go in the first round, and even to them potentially, and they get him in the second round. And I'm telling you, I think it's a great fit for him, as I've said with Chicago. He goes in right now to a team with a brand new identity. I think the feel is completely different over there for the Bears, too, compared to where it was last year. And that was even a team that made the playoffs, but there was no hope because of the quarterback situation, right? Then you get into the offseason, and you got your top wide receiver talking about how he's about to throw a fit if he doesn't get off the franchise tag and out of there. You sign Andy Dalton, which doesn't make anything better, and it doesn't seem like it's going well. Then they go into the draft, and I think the mood has shifted. You've already seen the odds to win the Super Bowl go from 60-1 in Vegas to 50-1, by the way. They moved up a little bit there with Justin Fields about to be number one. You add a guy like Tevin Jenkins on that offensive line, and all of a sudden, we talked about you've got weapons already. Allen Robinson is a stud. David Montgomery showed a lot last year what he can really do when given a full workload behind, in the backfield. And put in Justin Fields, I think his potential is unlimited at this point. Mooney on the opposite side catching the ball. Then you throw in a guy like Tevin Jenkins to block. And what we're going to do to start off the show is give our grades for where these Oklahoma State players landed. I'm giving the Bears an A, man. I really do I like this pick with Tevin Jenkins. To me, there's not a lot of, if any, negatives that are coming from this. And, that is when he looked pre-draft. It was something we talked about. Okay, Chicago not a great spot for anybody to land, but again, mainly it was because of the quarterback situation. Well, they got that done in the first round. You add Tevin Jenkins to the mix. I think the Bears did a really great job.
Yeah, and that's something. I think a lot of people were surprised. I mean, we talked about it Friday. Was I surprised that Tevin Jenkins missed out on the first round? Yeah, I think a lot of people were, especially when you get, Las Vegas, not Oakland. You get Las Vegas moving up and taking a, mid to late second rounder. I'm not saying that Tevin Jenkins should have been a 17th pick, but more so than a late second rounder. But when you look at what happened, I think the Bears, I think it was a decent pick. The Bears taking him at 20. But you look at what they did, they take Justin Fields at 11. Easily one of the steals of the first round. I mean, that's huge for Chicago. And then 19 picks after the 20th pick, the Bears pick up Tevin Jenkins, so you're saving easily several $1 million. Now, the good thing for Tevin is that's just going to push him even harder. He's one of the best run blockers in the draft. I think that's a huge opportunity. I think both of those guys are going to play a lot in their rookie seasons. And is Chicago all of a sudden a contender? No, but the opportunities for growth in Chicago are huge. So you go 2-3 years down the road, and Chicago could be back on the right track.
No, I think they've set them up, right? They've added pieces.
Absolutely.
They absolutely have. Levi, what do you think of Tevin's landing spot?
I really like it. And the cool thing for Chicago is they went from truly being a laughingstock in that division because we knew with Mitchell Trubisky, they weren't going to go anywhere. With Justin Fields, with Tevin Jenkins, with Lair Borum on the other side, he was the other tackle. He was drafted in the 5th round, and that's really good because I believe it was Charles Leno, their left tackle I think he was like a 7th-round pick that was drafted a while ago. They ended up releasing him today, so you have your 2 tackles set for the future, and I really love that they've got Tevin Jenkins over there. I thought he was going to go to Cincinnati, but to me this might be an even better fit because you truly now have a solid offensive line over there in Chicago. Plus, you also got a really diverse wide receiver group with Allen Robinson, with Darnell Mooney, and they also had a Daz Newsome out of North Carolina in the 6th round, which that's a value pickup if I've ever seen one. They got a great set of trios, got some great running backs with, I believe they still have Tyreek Cohen. They have David Montgomery, of course, and they also added Khalil Herbert from West Virginia. Or not West Virginia, from Virginia Tech. They added a lot of depth everywhere on the offensive side. And so now they have exactly what they didn't have a couple years ago. They have truly great pieces everywhere and have every single base covered. So Chicago is on the up and up, and depending on how things land with Aaron Rodgers, things could get sneaky for Chicago.
Yeah, I think it was huge, again, for the coaching staff and for the ownership. They needed to make one last-ditch effort to keep jobs, and that was I think they made a great push at that with their entire draft, and adding a guy like Tevin Jenkins certainly helps. I saw on Twitter he's already thrilled, right? He already got the Blackhawks jersey coming his way. He was excited about that. I think he's going to fully embrace Chicago. This is going to be a really good opportunity for him, and he could be it's not often that we say this and then see it, but he could be a career guy in Chicago depending on how things go. I think he's definitely someone who's going to stay loyal and definitely thrilled to get his first opportunity at the next level, show everybody what he has. And you know what? Coming in your rookie year, blocking for Justin Fields, that's not too bad of a gig right there. I think it could be worse.
Absolutely.
So it could be Mitch Trubisky. Let's say that.
Yeah. I was going to say, you don't have to block for Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Andy Dalton, Mitch Trubisky could be one of those guys. It's Justin Fields, where it's basically an untapped surface, and whatever happens. I can't wait. I'm really excited for Tevin. Next up, never in my life would I have thought that Chuba Hubbard would be selected before Tylan Wallace.
Wild, right?
And he was. So when I saw that, I had to do a double take, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, Tylan fell past Chuba? And Chuba ended up going in the 4th round, right? It's like, wow. I even thought that was a little ahead of where he would actually end up. But the Carolina Panthers, man, they jumped all over it, and I give them credit. This is a plus, obviously, for Chuba Hubbard. He gets to go into a situation where one of, if not the best back right now in the league gets to be his teacher. How great is that? And the other plus I thought of too, one of the knocks we've talked about with Chuba was his lack of catching the ball out of the backfield. Well, Carolina does a ton of that, and I would have to think that Christian McCaffrey is the perfect guy to learn from, to pick the brain on that, and then to train with in that aspect. I think he's going to up his game, talking about Chuba here, with this team, because he'll be given that opportunity. To me, right here, you look at the depth chart with Carolina running backs, he slides in as the number 2.
Well, yeah.
He's ready to go.
Mike
Davis is
during the
gone.
offseason.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he's gone. Chuba Hubbard is the guy at number 2. He's going to come in, and we're going to see him, be a change of pace guy. If Christian McCaffrey gets hurt like he did last year, it could be a full workload for a guy like Chuba, which would be pretty interesting early on. However, you don't want to see CMC ever get hurt, but he has been prone to injury a little bit. So there's 2 pluses right there. The only thing for me is Christian McCaffrey, we know, signed through 2025. He's making a lot of money. He got a big-time deal for a running back. So I think, like I said there, without the injuries, attempts are going to be scarce at times, and you understand that. There's pluses, there's minuses here because he does have someone. And it's not like he was going to immediately slot in and start on any team, really. But this is a deeper hole than maybe some others. So I'm giving him about a B- here where he lands, because I think there is a lot of upside, especially if, he's gets that green light to get a majority of the carries at some point, regarding some situation that happens with CMC.
Yeah, he steps into a really good situation. Like you mentioned, Mike Davis is gone. He left here in the offseason, free agency, so he does plug into that number 2 spot. I think obviously durability is going to be the biggest question. How can he handle the being in the NFL and taking the second string carries? Now it's not going to be as much as he took in that 2019 season, but as I'm sure all of us have seen by now, the funny exchange when Matt Rule called.
That was great.
And that's another benefit is not only did he have a fantastic 2019 season, but he rushed for nearly 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against Matt Rule when they played Baylor that year. So Matt Rule has that firsthand experience. He knows what Chuba can do. The biggest question going forward is going to be durability. Can he stay healthy? He had those 2 offseason surgeries last year going into 2020. He was banged up, nicked up half the time last year, dealt with that high ankle sprain down the stretch, opted out towards the end of the year. So, can he stay healthy? The good thing is he hasn't really done much since opting out towards the end of last year, other than training, for the combine and getting ready for that. So hopefully by the time he gets to OTAs and hopefully by the time he gets to training camp, he should be ready to go. Obviously not as good of a pick as Tevin Jenkins. I think that fit is really good in Chicago, but I'm with you. I'm looking B-, maybe a solid B, because I think he has the opportunity to do really, really well.
Really shocked that he went before Tylen.
Yeah, I'm surprised that was it 15, 16 receivers go before Tylen. It's very evident now that knee injury was.
It looks like they disconnected for half a second, but I'll go on and I'll add on a little bit because Zach was talking about that knee injury. That knee injury
coming back from that injury didn't really miss a beat. So I'm surprised Tylen. I'm really surprised Tylen went that far. But the thing is, we were talking about who's going to be the steal of the draft. Could be Tylen, could be Rodgers. Where Tylen went, absolutely the steal of the draft.
Yeah, and I think it certainly was surprising to see him go early, especially with running backs and a guy that had the durability problems like Chuba did. Levi, did you like Chuba's spot?
Loved it. Y'all went half in and out for a second, so I was frightened for half a second. But, yeah, Chuba's, honestly, I didn't give the full grade for what I thought for Tevin's. To me, that's an A+. This is an A. This, to me, is the perfect guy that is to me, almost polar opposite of what CMC is, since CMC can pretty much do a little bit of everything, but as a big power runner, you can get that in Chuba. He can change the speed of the game and change the pace a little bit, and you'll be able to pick up a lot of knowledge from a guy like Christian McCaffrey. And that's the thing. You needed somebody to be Chuba Hubbard's mentor. That's what you needed. You got the perfect guy there in a guy like Christian McCaffrey, and another guy who has a lot of knowledge when it comes to various offenses with Matt Rule. That's what you were needing, a guy who also is literally within that same pocket, because he ended up smacking him a little bit in the Big 12. So, and I loved his wife saying, you better not let Chuba Hubbard slide. And I completely understand. Plus, at that value of a 4th-round pick of where you want potential, that's not a bad place, since we already seen the majority of other running backs go off the board at the time. I don't blame you for taking it at the 4th round. That to me was a great pickup. Yeah, give it a full-hearted A.
Well, and what's crazy about it, I expected Chuba to get drafted. I wasn't in the party that thought he was going to slip out of the draft. Now, I didn't think he was going to go in the 4th round. I thought with his durability issues and with the lowered production he had last year, I honestly was thinking 5th, mid to late 5th, maybe somewhere in the 6th round. Do I think he can be successful in the NFL? Yeah, I do. He was very talented. He's very athletic. He's got a good head on his shoulders. 4th round, and that's the thing is, if he comes out last year, after the 2020 season, he probably goes somewhere in the 2nd to 3rd round. Now the question then would be, well, is he gonna, does he have the right amount of snaps? But I'm okay with the 4th round. I think Tylen should have gone first. But I'm okay with the mid 4th.
Well, and I just really like what Carolina is doing right now.
Yeah.
I know that they are still a team that needs to get back on the rise, but the biggest question is going to be quarterback.
Yeah.
If he came in with Teddy Bridgewater, I'd be like, well, we'll see. He might catch some passes out. He'll definitely catch some passes out of the backfield with Teddy Bridgewater. You bring in Sam Darnold, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he is the solidified guy. We know things can change between now and the first snap of the season. But I do think that his chances for success significantly go up with this team Sam Darnold talking about here because of the weapons they have. You have Terrace Marshall, who was an absolute perfect grab to add to this team. As you said to me earlier, Levi, replaces Curtis Samuel there. You're able to keep up with DJ Moore, who's an absolute stud deep, and then you throw in Robbie Anderson, who's your perfect underneath guy. They really utilized him well last year, running a lot of slants underneath routes. That panned out. Then you add in a healthy Christian McCaffrey, a healthy Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, man, this is a fun team in Carolina. I think there's a lot of potential with this offense. And on top of all that, Matt Rule, who you guys know. I mean, I have bought into Matt Rule since he's been at Baylor. Now transferring over into the league, I think he's doing a good job so far with what he had, and the picks made sense. You could tell on those calls, even the one with the long snapper, which was hilarious. If you guys saw that one, the long snapper was legitimately confused.
Thought it was free
he was like, "What are you talking about? You drafted me?" Like, he was shocked. And then they talked to Chuba, and that was a great phone call too. And obviously, I think you could kind of tell in Chuba's voice, he was a little starstruck as well. Like, wow, I'm really here. I made it. I got picked here in the 4th round. I'm going to Carolina. He seems like a coach at the NFL level that you would really have a lot of love for and love to play for. So I think Chuba's in an excellent spot here. And like I was talking about, Levi, I just feel like this has now become an explosive Carolina Panthers offense, or at least the potential to be. If Sam Darnold pulls a Ryan Tannehill, right, and he gets out from the Jets and from Adam Gase, we could be talking about a team that's in the mix for a playoff spot.
Oh, yeah. And we've already seen Sam Darnold to Robbie Anderson connect before. So now just imagine a potentially better Sam Darnold and a better Robbie Anderson. That connection's going to work like gangbusters. And the expectation from Chuba Hubbard is to basically be Mike Davis 2.0, except you're a couple inches taller and you're a little bit stockier. You're going to be a good change of pace to whatever Christian McCaffrey brings. And even though you want to run Christian McCaffrey a lot, you don't want to overwork him, because that might be partially to why he was injured the majority of the season, because previously they overworked him half to death. So you bring in Chuba Hubbard, who's still pretty stocky, can get in and take a little bit of a hit, and he's going to be able to help change up a lot of things in Carolina, give Christian McCaffrey a couple of breathers so that way he doesn't end up injured again. It, to me, just got to be a perfect day.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation with Christian McCaffrey, because he is like one of those few backs where you want him to touch the ball all the time. But in that Carolina offense, he was literally pulling a Le'Veon Bell in his prime and touching it almost every single play. They couldn't get a pass downfield. They would just dump it off to him and hope that he would make a play, and usually he would. He was averaging chunks of yards per carry, and yeah, they probably did overwork him. And I think Matt Rule's in this situation where he's like, you know what, I want to use CMC as much as I can, and we will. Trust me, he'll get plenty of carries. But you bring in a guy like Chuba who can take the weight off, give CMC a real breather. It's not just some guy that's going to step in and all he's going to do is pass block for you. No, Chuba's going to get some touches, and he's going to get a chance to catch the ball and make some plays, and he might even get some goal line carries here and there. So I'm excited for his opportunity, especially like we talked about, where he's landing in terms of who he's going to learn from. Yeah, it doesn't get a lot better than that. So it's good for Chuba at the next level. He'll definitely be someone to watch for this upcoming year with some of the opportunities he gets. So we talked about Tev, and we talked about Chuba. When we come back, we'll take a look at where Tylan Wallace landed, where Rodgers landed, and then you had 3 other Cowboys that signed immediately after the draft free agent deals with different teams, and we'll see if those were good fits as well. 4, actually, that's right. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Oh, screaming out at the top of my my heart beat like a bass drum. Listen to me now. Oh, I've been touched by an angel.
An afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Levi Peckinpah here with you on this Monday. We are live at Glow Salon, new location over here at 1121 Southwestern. Call them up at 624-4444 or go online at glowsalon-spa.com. They are busy. I'm telling you what, Zach, I pulled in. I couldn't find a parking spot.
I had to drive around the lot three times.
I was like, why don't I have my reserve spot here? Come on now. I know, man, we've been here a few times. Come on. No, hey, guys, isn't it great, though, we have sports back, and now with Mother's Day coming up, it's time to give some relaxation time back to your wife and to your mom, too. Get a massage, makeup, makeover, or a day or two or three at Glow Salon and Spa. For details on all of the spa services, visit glowsalon-spa.com or call 624-4444. As you guys know, in terms of important holidays that you don't dare forget,
Tippy top.
Mother's Day
Tippy top.
is at the top.
It goes like wedding anniversary, wife's birthday, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day,
like
Valentine's Day.
And I'm talking 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah, it's up there.
They're all the same.
You don't miss it. Trust me, you just don't. So,
and you know what else is coming up? Graduation.
True.
We got graduations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a great present over here to get.
Yeah.
Hey,
all kinds
congratulations. Go treat yourself. Get a massage.
Treat yourself.
Sounds amazing. This is the afternoon sports drive. So we talked about, before the break, we gave grades to Tevin Jenkins landing with the Chicago Bears, Chuba Hubbard landing with the Carolina Panthers, who went 5 picks ahead of the guy who we all thought would actually go before Chuba Hubbard. Tylan Wallace falls to the Baltimore Ravens in the 4th round. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm pretty torn on this pick.
Same.
I'm 50-50 here for his landing spot. The good side of it, of me, will say that I think the Baltimore Ravens did a good job by setting up their pass game to be successful. You get Rashad Bateman, who I think has the opportunity to slide in as wide receiver 1 immediately, because I do not believe in Marquise Brown. He hasn't done anything in the league that's made me go, oh my gosh, he's a true wide receiver 1. He simply isn't. So you put Rashad Bateman into the mix, I think he's wide receiver 1. You throw in Hollywood Brown that we talked about there, and then you throw in Tylan Wallace in a situation where he's probably going to have to play a lot of slot. And the good part about that, again, like I'm talking about here, is that with adding these players, this tells me that there is going to be a significant focus on the pass game coming up in this upcoming season. We've seen Lamar Jackson air it out at times, right? We know he has that ability. You can go back and look at his MVP season. He did put up good numbers, and he was throwing the ball well. But there's a lot of times where Greg Roman gets really, really focused on running the football, and I can understand it. Lamar Jackson is what he does best. It's what a lot of that team does best. When they had 4 running backs that were out there getting chunk gains every time, well, that's great. But then when it came to a 3rd and medium, 3rd and long situation and they weren't able to convert, then all of a sudden it was, hey, we should probably be throwing the football a little bit more. And even if we do that earlier on, we can get Lamar more comfortable into converting those situations. Now, you bring in a guy like Tylan Wallace, who I agree with you guys, at this late in the round could be a steal for sure. Yeah. And he lands on this team that's either going to utilize him in the right way and give him opportunities on some deep balls occasionally, but probably a lot in the middle of the field, and hopefully use them around the goal line and stuff at times too. Or they're going to say, Tylan, please block for us a lot. And go out there and do a lot of blocking, and we're going to run the ball like we have done. Even if we get into the playoffs, we're going to get content with what we do and fall into that trap. Greg Roman drives me insane a lot of the time with his play calling. So I think, obviously, Tylan would flourish in a lot of different offenses, but he's going to have a chance here. I'd be sorely disappointed if this is the same type of Baltimore Ravens offense that we've been accustomed to seeing. They got to start airing it out if they want to advance and win, especially in the playoffs. And I think if that's the case, Tylan Wallace has to be a part of that.
Well, and what's interesting is you look at who Baltimore took in the 1st round. They took Minnesota's receiver Rashad Bateman. So I mean, you look at their picks, and it appears that they're going to be more focused on throwing the ball. You would have to think, with bringing in a 1st round receiver and then Tylan Wallace, who easily one of the biggest steals. And I think it obviously will all depend on if he can perform. But you look at what Tylen did over the course of 3 years in Stillwater, very physical receiver, great blocker, incredible body control. Now, he's not going to leave you in the dust. He didn't. We saw that at his pro day. Wasn't real blistering. I think it was like a 4.5 and change, I think. Right on the cusp of that, like a 4.49, but it was just a titch over 4.5. So he's not gonna leave you in the dust, but he can go up and come down with a pass over most defenders. So it gives them that sure-handed receiver across the middle. Now, I don't know how many times they're going to send him across the middle blindly, but he certainly has sure hands and can bring down some solid passes.
Yeah, and Levi, I'll just tell you that by the way, because I didn't say my grade is a C-, and
Yeah.
I give that because
Not great.
I think that there is opportunity for success. But I've seen enough of this Ravens offense to also know that there's a lot of opportunity for him to not be utilized the way that he probably should be.
I give this a B. I think Tylen could be an easy fit in here. The thing is, it's just going to depend on the OC. It's going to depend on the coordinator, and it wouldn't surprise me if this might be, depending on how the offense goes, this might be the last year of the coordinator over there in Baltimore, because it seems like with whatever they're trying to do, it's definitely not the way for them to get wins. And with you pairing up a lot of these guys with Rashad Bateman and Tylen Wallace, two guys that are pretty dynamic in diverse ways, for Tylen Wallace mainly having truly, I think, some of the best hands in the class. He's not the speediest guy, not the best route runner, but he almost has a Larry Fitzgerald ability to where he can catch a ball no matter where you put it. So I think he could be a good fit. Truly, to me, be a really good starter in about 2 to 3, maybe 4 years. But it's all really going to depend on what is the system going to be over there in Baltimore. Because really what it should be is Rashad Bateman, number 1, Tylen Wallace, number 2, and then you have Hollywood Brown as your slot guy. That's what it should be. But I don't know what they're going to do over there in Baltimore. I don't know if they have, to me, a little bit way too much faith in Hollywood Brown. Maybe that one game against the terrible Miami Dolphins a couple of years ago, they're that can be a big guy. No, he should be a slot. He should basically be your Tyreek Hill type of guy, while you have Rashad Bateman and Tylen Wallace being your 1-2 dynamic combo, kind of like what you would see in a Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore type scenario. That's what it should be. But
y'all are forgetting a pretty dynamic receiver over in Baltimore, Des Bryant.
Not there anymore,
Not
so
there
doesn't
anymore.
count. And he didn't count when he was there. Okay,
No.
You look at the weapons over there, and why I think it's a bad mixture is because what Levi has said multiple times in the defense of Baltimore, and I agree, is that there hasn't been any real weapon to throw to over the last few years, but it comes in with the mixture of them not throwing the ball a ton anyways, and when that happens, it's not great for success. So if you don't utilize this with Rashad Bateman, who I agree is absolutely a number 1 type of guy and can be in that offense, you could and should use Tylen Wallace as a true number 2 and give him opportunities. This is a recipe for success, but it has to be utilized.
Here's the comparison. Last season, I believe maybe the best wide receiver, I don't know specifically stats-wise, but the main guy that I remember Lamar Jackson going to was Willie Snead. Willie Snead should not be a guy you go to. He's like your 3rd or 4th wide receiver. Now you got a true actual number 1. I think in a couple years, a guy you can develop into a number 2 in Tylen Wallace. You have your slot. You actually have the group of guys that can go out there and then go out and take on the world with also Mark Andrews at the tight end spot. This should be a team that within the next couple of years is really lethal on the offensive side. But it's all going to depend on what the OC decides to do. So I give it a B.
Yeah, Willie Snead, the 10th over there, still catching passes. And you know what? If you go back to last season, you guys remember the Ravens-Chiefs game when the Chiefs came out and that one wasn't even close, right? But you looked at what Baltimore was doing, and they couldn't keep up throwing the football. When they get into situations like that, into games like that, where they should be competitive, if it's true and people want to tout them as one of the best teams in the league, well, then they got to play well against some of the best teams in the league. You look at what they did against Tennessee in their playoff game. Tennessee did not play well, but they utilized their run game to exploit that. They made a couple of big throws in that game too, but they were able to stick to their game plan and advance. You got over to Buffalo, and that wasn't the case. So until you're not going to be able to take that next step against teams like Buffalo, like Kansas City, you name some of the best ones available in the league right now until you open up the air game a little bit. And I think Lamar Jackson has that ability. Whenever I talk about him, I don't want it to come off that I'm just like hating on Lamar. I just don't think that they are using him correctly throughout this league. This is a pass league, man. There is no time to be a run-first team anymore in the National Football League. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, sure, but it doesn't exist anymore. So this is a team that I am like you, Zach. I think they got these guys to show that, hey, look, we're going to focus on throwing the football. We don't get Rashad Bateman and Tylan Wallace on our team and then go back to just pounding ground, right? We still have the guys that do that. You've got Dobbins and you've got Gus Edwards, which will absolutely be great in the run game. They were last year, and you add Lamar that can do that too. But you don't need him to be a scrambler every single time. You don't need him to go out there and risk it every single time. Let him stay in the pocket, give him some time, and find a Tylan Wallace, find a Rashad Bateman. Next thing you know, you got wins stacking up, and I think this could be a really, really good team. So that's where I leave the ability, the openness to allow for him to be successful later on. But I'm like you too, Levi. I think you probably give it a year or two before we see big opportunities for Tylan. So he goes there in the 4th round, and I was very surprised when he was absolutely at the top of the best available most of that round and before, and he still wasn't being touched, which was pretty surprising. He goes to Baltimore, so we'll keep an eye on that. Rodarius Williams to the New York Giants. I think this is a team with New York. It's interesting. We've looked at Chicago. We've looked at Carolina. We've looked at New York. 3 teams that a year or 2 ago would be considered some of the worst probably in the entire league. But I think they're 3 teams that are truly on the rise. The question for all 3 of those teams is quarterback, and that's the same with the Giants because they're stacked offensively. We see everybody they have to throw the ball to. You get Saquon Barkley coming back off an injury. Then you look at the defense and you say, all right, who can we use in this secondary to get us the ball back? And while Rodarius has traffic in front of him at that position, I think he's going to end up getting plenty of chances on a defense that will need to eventually make stops. I don't mind this fit for him really at all. I think it's a good opportunity. So he goes into New York here in an NFC East division where there will be plenty of footballs up for grabs at times too when he's playing out there at times. So I give this about a B. I think this is a good spot for Rodarius. I'm not mad at his landing spot at all. Do I think he's like a career guy in New York? No, but it is a good place to get his feet off the ground.
Yeah, and PFF and ESPN both gave it a B+, and I think that's pretty much par for the course. You're looking at, I think it's a decent fit. I'm curious to see what Tom has to say about it. You look at the numbers that Rodarius put up.
I'll tell you what Tom has to say about it. I don't know until I see him play. I don't know until he's out there and he's done anything. Okay. That's what he's going to say. That's what he's going to say.
I know. It's not even that. It's like, Tom, are you excited to have Rodarius because you saw what he did over 4 years?
Ask me when he plays the game at the next level. But I love you, Tom.
But I like the quote that Rodarius gave. He said, "I'm a durable guy. I don't miss many games and I don't miss many practices. I'm a guy that's going to show up and work. I haven't played many special teams, but I was a 4-year starter. In those years, didn't give up too many touchdowns." Didn't give up. Now he didn't pick the ball off, and that's one of the knocks. He doesn't have great hands. Well, why do you play corner? It's because you weren't a good receiver. You can't catch a ball. So Rodarius is a really solid corner. He's more of a man-to-man guy. I think it's a decent fit. I will say I think you are going to see a lot of Rodarius on special teams. I think you'll see him develop into a special teams player, and kind of like with Tylan, I think it'll take a couple years, 3 years maybe, to really see what Rodarius can do in the league. But I hope that he gets his chance because he is a good corner. We saw that this past year. And I guess we were all wrong. I mean, I thought Rodarius earned himself an extra 3 or 4 rounds, ends up going in the 6th. So, but there were a lot of people off, though. I mean, you go across the board. There were a lot of people that were off with Tevin and Tylan and Rodarius, and not just Oklahoma State people, but national people. So I'm not concerned with it. I think Rodarius is going to be able to make his money and make a little noise up there in New York.
He made sense in the 5th and 6th round a little bit for me too, but as well, Levi, like this was a New York team that he wasn't the only cornerback they took in this draft.
Yeah, I took one in the third.
Yeah. I've gotten around to where I completely understand why Rodgers was taken that late. Because if you think about all the wide receivers that he's ever matched up with in the Big 12, how many of them have actually translated to an NFL level? Not a lot, let's be honest. There's a couple few that are lurking around the NFL from the Big 12, but not a lot. And then you also got to look at, there was a couple years where he was the number 2 corner where he got toast. And yes, you can also say last year as the number 1, he was pretty good. Yeah, but that's 1 year compared to a lot of other years where he was having some iffy play. So you truly don't know with the spot that you're going to put him at in New York, which I'm going to assume might be like a corner 4, corner 5. The main thing is just going to be not to screw up during those opportunities, and the same thing on special teams. So I give it a C+ to a B-. I'll leave it within that range, because it's all going to depend on how he develops there in New York. But I completely understand at number 6, and as the more and more you think about it, to me, I completely understand why he fell all the way down there.
Well, and New York's defense hasn't been amazing by any stretch of the imagination recently, but you did see them succeed a little bit last year. I think that, if you get guys that are getting torched, then Rodgers is like, hey, it's like, give an opportunity. Let him step up, see what he can do. And like you said, Levi, if he makes the most of those, he might solidify a spot for himself.
Could be
we'll
Trey
see him on
Flowers, man.
special teams. Yeah, exactly. We'll see him on some special teams. He'll make some tackles and get his name out there a little bit too. We talked about he's lengthy for his position and will fit well in the man scheme, so I'm excited to see what he does. As far as the other guys that actually made teams, or pardon me, we're just on free agent contracts, I thought that my favorite, and I will name the 4 here, with Amon Agbamamiga going to the Chargers, Cam Murray went to the Cardinals, Dylan Stoner to the Raiders, and Calvin Bundage went to the Steelers. I like Dylan Stoner's fit.
Absolutely.
There's a guy that we talked about, taking a look at where he would land and knew he would most likely find himself a team. He goes over to Las Vegas. Tell me he doesn't sound like a John Gruden guy, right? I mean, can't you see
that guy plays football.
Exactly.
That's a football player.
Yeah, can't you just see him being like, dude, this is a tough dude right
Hunter
here.
Renfrow
We like
2.0,
this.
man.
Yeah, exactly. I almost forgot his name earlier today. I was trying to think of who's that guy, from Clemson. Yeah, Hunter Renfrow. He is like a spitting image of what Hunter Renfrow has been in that offense. And you've seen Renfrow's role grow a little bit over the last couple of years. I think Dylan Stoner, look, if he works hard enough, I would not be shocked at all to see John Gruden be like, give him a shot. Let's get him a couple of snaps out there. Next thing you know, he makes a couple catches middle of the field, takes a hard hit, bounces right back up, and he's ready to go again. And you see someone like Derek Carr kind of fall in love a little bit, like he did with Hunter Renfrow. So I like that fit for him.
Well, and if you look at what the Raiders did, they didn't draft a receiver. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't draft a receiver because they knew they were going to sign Dylan Stoner as a free agent. But the good thing is they didn't bring in a receiver. So they will need guys to fill in those backup spots. Now, I'm not going to come out and predict that he's going to make the 53-man roster, but I think Dylan Stoner has a legitimate chance to make a practice squad, and I think you'll see him bumped up sometime halfway through the season, and he'll get some playing. He'll get his opportunity.
I'm not going to lie, to me, the biggest one out of all the undrafted guys for Oklahoma State, I think it's Cam Murray to Arizona.
Isn't that a great spot?
I think that's the most realistic guy that will be able to stick there in the long term, I think. Because if you look at that defense and you try to find some type of holes, they filled the linebacker hole with Zaven Collins, great pickup, and they still have Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. Their D-tackle spot is the only thing to me that's a little weak. They've got a guy that they've been developing down there in Zach Allen. They've got a couple other guys down there. But I really think Cam Murray might be able to carve him out a spot over there. And I think it's just going to be one of those things where he just kind of works the depth chart a little bit, and he ends up eventually carving himself out a spot to where he might be able to eventually get himself a couple of snaps. Kind of like how Jordan Brailford, after going around a little bit, carved out a little bit of a niche over there in Minnesota. So I think you're going to see, out of all these guys, I think Cam Murray to the Cardinals, to me, the best fit.
I like the fit. I do too. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. And we talk about guys being in front of them that you can pick brains. Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. Yeah, thank you very much. That's a great start for Cam Murray coming in. And he was a guy that we had talked about had potential to be drafted really, really late. If not, would be signed pretty quickly. And he was at that position because you like to develop guys like that. We know what Cam can bring to the table. I wouldn't be surprised to see him out there a few times.
Well, and it's another spot that didn't draft a position player. Arizona didn't draft a defensive tackle. And again, I'll preface that by saying I don't think that they didn't draft a defensive tackle because they knew they could sign Cam Murray in free agency. But you look at this season, the past couple seasons that Cam's had, he has really grown into a dominant force on the inside. Now, he's not going to be your typical two-gap inside type of defensive lineman, but you look at what he did at Oklahoma State, a lot of three down, and that's his forte. You know, he made a lot of noise this past year, so I think he's another guy. Levi, I'm with you. I think he gets a chance. I don't know if he makes the roster, but I for sure think he makes the practice squad. And like Stoner, I think you'll see Cam play a lot on Sundays this year.
Oh yeah, he to me, yeah, I can see him not maybe just being a practice squad type of guy, but I really think because that's been the one place that hasn't developed on that Arizona roster. They've been trying to for so long. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They've been trying to for I don't know how many years. This is like Zach Allen's like third or fourth year on that roster. They've been trying to get something out of a lot of those guys in the D tackle spot, even Jordan Phillips. But I really think if Cam Murray can put the pedal to the metal, I really think he can carve himself out a spot on the 53-man roster by the time the season starts.
Absolutely.
There you go. We'll have more on those players in depth of where they landed throughout the week and take looks a little bit closer at that. But, yeah, I'm really thrilled for those guys, no doubt. You got 4 of them drafted and 4 more landing on free agent contracts. When we come back on the afternoon sports drive, Oklahoma State baseball in Bedlam this weekend. Not great. We'll preface it with that and take a look at what they need to do to get back on track. Coming up, afternoon sports drive.
Showed you true colors, I don't like what I see. Story keeps changing, I know what that means. Know what that means, I know what that means. How'd you go from being that somebody I believed into being someone doubting me behind the scenes? Can't forgive or sorry that I ain't never received. I mean, least you could've done was gave me an apology. But you're so prideful, yeah.
Back in afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Levi Pecapaz over there in the studio running things for us. We're live at Glow Salon and Spa. New location 1121 Southwestern. Guys, Glow is your easy one call, one stop for Mother's Day coming up here this Sunday. Call them 624-4444 or go online at glowsalon-spa.com. And as sports fans, look, we all know what a crazy year it really has been with Mother's Day coming May 9th. As we said there, give your wife or your mom a great day away from this crazy year that we just went through with a Glow Salon and Spa gift certificate. So she can choose exactly what she wants on her day away. In case you don't know for sure, that's your answer. Get her the gift certificate, let her pick it out, and she will thank you for it later. Zach Lancaster, Patrick Wheeler here with you on this Monday afternoon in Oklahoma State baseball, taking on Bedlam, a series with Oklahoma this past weekend. Didn't quite turn out the way a lot of people, I think, expected, Zach. I mean, it was yesterday was a win, so that was good to at least not be swept. But you lose the first 2 games. Things didn't look great heading into that third one. They got it done. Cale Davis obviously came through big on the mound, and he's a great story from that game. But, look, the Cowboys, in that first game was Friday when they lost 16-2, right? I mean, that's a lot of runs you give up. This is a team that we said had some work to do. They got some real work to do right now.
Yeah, well, and I think the biggest issue they faced was pitching.
Big time, yeah.
Still dealing with injuries. And that's going to be huge moving forward. I guess if you want to look at it, optimistically, the bright side about moving forward is you now enter a pretty relatively easy stretch.
And I'll be honest with you,
I thought OU was in that stretch.
I thought it started with OU, really, yeah.
I thought OU was supposed to be in that stretch.
Yeah.
I've seen some people on Twitter talking about that OU's a pretty solid offensive team. Yeah, that's true, but I mean, they were still skirting around 500. They're the second to last team in the conference, and went out. And did you see the box score
for Friday's game? Yeah,
several home runs.
Yeah,
you walk in 2 runs in the top of the 9th, one to hit batsman, bases loaded, then you walk in another one immediately after. I still think this team has potential. I mean, it still has an opportunity to make some noise down the stretch here and in the Big 12 tournament and the NCAA tournament. At this point, I don't think you're going to see a regional host in Stillwater. And I don't think you're going to see a regional at O'Brien. I think if you'd have taken 2 out of 3 against OU and not lost the way you did against in that game one. Let's say you lose that game and you come back and you win 2 and 3, and it's a close game, a couple of runs here, a couple of runs there, then maybe the NCAA committee looks favorably upon you. But right now, I mean, you're looking at it. They'll make a regional. I don't think they're going to get in by the skin of their teeth. They'll comfortably make a regional. But they got a lot of work to do out of the bullpen. They got a lot of work to do out there on that mound.
Yeah, they really do. Injuries with Parker Scott and Robleski, that's terrible timing. It just is. And you've had injuries all season long that you've dealt with, but they seem to have been piling up as of late. And talked about the timing is just unfortunate. They go into a weekend series with Kansas where you would expect a certain level of success against a Kansas team that's not very good. But I'm saying the same thing about Oklahoma. Like, they could hit.
Yeah.
But their pitching was terrible, let's be honest, coming into this series, and you wouldn't have known. I mean, Oklahoma State had a tough go of it, no doubt, but you have Kansas, you have Baylor, I believe, and New Orleans, I think, is the only three teams you have left on the regular season schedule. And that's a shame, man, if you don't get to host a regional at O'Brate for anyone that's been in that environment, right? I feel like that would have been awesome. So there's obviously a lot of work to do to keep it up here for Oklahoma State to finish out the season strong. They do have that ability with the rest of the schedule. It's unrealistic to think they're just going to win every single game by any means, but with the offense they bring, and like you said, the biggest question is, can they pick up where those two, as I mentioned with the injuries, leave off on the pitching side of things? Because if not, it's a tough hill to climb. Let's be honest, it really is. When we come back on the afternoon sports drive, hour number 2 is coming up next. We'll get into some buy or sell, and later on, take a look at where the latest news developing out of the Aaron Rodgers drama has gone. All coming up afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio.
And I don't know how we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go. Laying on the ground, wondering why it's so cold. How we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow.
We're back in afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network, hour number 2. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Levi Peckinpah's rocking with us on this Monday, and we're live at Glow Salon and Spa. New location, 1121 Southwestern. It is your easy one-call, one-stop for Mother's Day coming up. 624-4444 online at glowsalon-spa.com. Great graduation gift ideas. Maybe your girl, your daughter is getting ready for college and preparing to start her career. Make her graduation day something your daughter, granddaughter, special niece remembers all year long. Give her a graduation gift certificate from Glow Salon, a spa gift, or you can really surprise her with Glow's monthly spa package. To get started in this second hour, we're going to get into some buy or sell.
Are you buying?
I'd buy that for $1.
Or are you selling?
You pick up the phone and you sell, sell, sell.
This is Buy or Sell on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Make money, money, make money.
Buy or sell, afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster. I'll bring Levi in on these two. So the first one I threw out there involves Tuba. Okay, now we talked about him with Carolina. He's going to get some opportunities, no doubt, and I think it's going to be interesting to see here what type of opportunities he will get in short yardage situations, and maybe occasionally, which probably won't come all that often, but with Christian McCaffrey, will he find a way to get into the end zone when he gets some of those touches? So buy or sell that this year, assuming he comes in as RB2 on the depth chart for Carolina, over under 5 total touchdowns in Chuba's rookie year.
I would probably take the under. It's not a knock on Chuba. I think he is a very athletic and talented running back. But I don't know how many. He's fast, but when you're going up against Iowa State defenders and you're going up against 11 NFL defenders day after day, there's going to be someone that could track you down. And I don't know how many short yardage, goal line type situations Chuba's going to be in. But I'll take the under, but I'll take it at I could see him getting 3, 3 or 4 maybe. 4 might be pushing it. But I'll take the under, but just a titch under.
For me, that would all depend on how many real touches is he going to get from Christian McCaffrey. Are they going to do something like how you've seen from some other teams where it's like a 60-40 type of roll? It's going to be like 70-30. I think I'll buy 5. I think 5 might be the most he gets. But I think I can buy that maybe around 500-600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Mainly you see a lot of it close to the goal line maybe. I think I could buy that because, again, it's all going to depend on what the ratio has been, because it seems like almost every backfield now is going to, we need 2 running backs. There's only, to me, one backfield now that is just solely one guy, and that's the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry. Besides that, almost every team now has one guy with the backup. That's how it usually works out, and it's he'll get between 40 to 20% of the carry. I'm gonna assume you might even want to go. You might want to give a little bit more because Christian McCaffrey's coming off that injury. So I think I will buy it, and I'll give it between 5 and 6 for Chuba.
Yeah, it's going to be a toss-up this year, I think, for what we can expect of the run game there, because Christian McCaffrey, look, he's a guy that you want to, as we talked about, use as much as possible. How much do you balance that out with keeping some tread on and not overworking him? You don't want to risk injury, but it's, you go out there, you're going to risk an injury every single time. With the amount of work that he puts in touching the football, he's going to need some breaks. We know that. And I'm with you, Levi, I think that you look at Derrick Henry, he's probably got the one lone backfield locked down. We've seen some guys, for instance, last year, James Robinson had 90% of the touches for Jacksonville, but that just kind of happens occasionally. So this was a situation this year now where you're like, okay, if you're Matt Rule, it's like we want to use Christian McCaffrey every chance we get, but we got Chuba Hubbard for a reason. He's a guy that's going to make a difference when we give him that opportunity at some point, and he'd probably break a couple off every now and again. We know that. We know he stays patient on his runs. That's when he's at his best, when he's waiting for holes to develop and then bursting right through them. So we're going to see more of that, I believe, too, if he extends that over into the NFL. And, I'm not expecting a lot of we get down to the goal line, he's going to plunge it in from a yard out. That's Christian McCaffrey's job. But, talked about, he may break one off 20, 15 yards, something like that every now and again. Heck, he may catch a couple passes that lead him into the end zone before it's all said and done. I think he's going to end up being a pretty significant and important part of this offense before it's all said and done this year, especially with, to me, it kind of goes back to what Sam Darnold's going to do. If he's going to be a guy that I couldn't imagine this would be the case unless he's just as bad as we already know he is, and it continues to be that way. If he's going to be a guy that can't find anybody open, which is going to be tough with these Carolina Panthers wide receivers, the weapons they have, then he'll look running back a lot. And that's going to involve someone like Chuba Hubbard. And if Chuba can show when he gets out there that he's going to catch the ball and be effective when he catches the ball, it's going to earn him a lot more snaps. This is a team, and it happens in the NFL a lot, but this is a team with Carolina that catches a ton of balls out of the backfield with their running backs. Mike Davis did it a lot last year too, even when he came in for CMC. Now that did play a part with Teddy Bridgewater being checked down Teddy Bridgewater, but Sam Darnold could fall a little bit into that role, and if he does, those were guys like Chuba Hubbard are going to take advantage. So with that being said, I think I'm going to take the under just slightly, see him getting it in maybe 3 or 4 times. But again, the most interesting thing would be if Christian McCaffrey were to deal with injuries at some point, which has kind of become a part of what he's done this last year. He came back for one game. It was against Kansas City, actually. Had a pretty good game, but got hurt again. So if that's the case and he misses a couple of games, then you're going to see, okay, what workload can Chuba Hubbard handle? And when he does, is he going to be able to find the end zone when we give him that opportunity? And that could really cement him into their game plan. I think Matt Rule loves this pick. He got to see him on a first-hand basis, like we talked about in the Big 12. He knows what he's going to get out of a really healthy, not banged up at all, Chuba Hubbard, which I think is going to be the case too. So give me the under, but just barely. But there's some bright years ahead in the NFL for Chuba.
Absolutely. And I'm sticking with the draft as well. I'm going Tylen. Buy or sell. Tylen starts game 1 for Baltimore, and not special team start. Not, he comes in at the second or third snap of the game, but he is on the field. Snap 1, game 1, Baltimore in the fall.
Nope. Oh, man. I want to buy that because I think that Baltimore should be on that consensus right now. Mm-hmm. Like, we want to get him out there early, but you know you're going to have Rashad Bateman out there. You know you're going to have Hollywood Brown. They're going to stick with him. That's just what the Ravens are. I think that his time is up for me right now. If anything, I would expect Tylan Wallace, if he gets the opportunity to almost jump him on the depth chart at some point this year, unless Marquise Brown just comes out and has a really good season, which I'm extremely bullish and doubtful on based off his past. So he's going to be out there too. Duvernay, you're going to put him back out there most likely. So I'm probably going to sell. I think Tylan is not 100% a starter to begin the season. He will come in really early, and I think after that he'll become coming in really early and really often. And he makes a couple of big plays. If they truly do stick to the passing game and open it up a little bit, he'll get his chances, and I really believe he's going to make the most out of them. He talked about his weaknesses a little bit earlier. Yeah, not the best route runner. We know he's undersized a bit, but he plays bigger than that.
Yeah.
You give him one-on-one balls. I have to think that's where he's going to make a little bit of his money early on, giving him a chance to go up against tight defense. And again, this is not Big 12 defense you're about to face. This is going to be guys that are going to lock you down and be on you, and unless you can exploit that, you'll never get a real chance at making a big-time play. But I think Tylan has that ability. He's going to show everybody. Look, you guys pushed me all the way back here in the 4th round. I mean, I'm about to show you I should have been at least a 2nd-round pick, maybe a 3rd round, somewhere in there. But he's a guy that I think has immense talent and immense potential. I'm bullish on his location, obviously, with the Ravens, but eventually he'll be a starter. I'll sell opening day, though.
Yeah, you also got to figure in that they also got Sammy Watkins in free agency. And
That's right, yep.
You don't know what that's going to turn out to. Will he be injured? Will he actually be able to play a decent amount? Since they've gotten all these wide receivers, unfortunately, Tylan is like wide receiver 7 or 8 on the depth chart right now. And that's just kind of one of those things. Weirdly enough, it's kind of like what Justice Hill ran into whenever he has been with Baltimore, where it's just buried in the depth chart. Right now, Justice has worked his way after many guys heading out. He's a running back 3. So you got to look at what scenario Tylan's in. He'll most likely be a good wide receiver in about 2 to 3 years. He's going to have to take a lot of licks, going to have to deal with frustrating things in the Baltimore locker room, mainly most likely the Baltimore scheme that they're going to run. I would love that to happen into where day 1 he's walking out on the field, second 1 he's a starter, but there's too many other guys that have already gotten too many licks in the NFL, so Tylan's going to have to prove himself, and I give it a couple years he might, but not right now.
And that's kind of what I'm buying on, Zach, is what Levi said, that he will prove himself here eventually because, yeah, you got Sammy Watkins in the mix. I don't fully expect him to stay healthy. I mean, and he's not going to be a guy that's going to give you a ton at this point in his career. He may help you out later on down the way, but I really do believe they'd be doing a disservice to the team by not giving him an opportunity, at least somewhat early on, whether it be on 3rd down every now and again, or going out there even just to block and show, hey, maybe he does deserve to stick out there on the field, stay out there on the field a little bit longer than we initially thought. So will he have to work his way into a role? Absolutely he will, even with the Ravens. But this is a story I think we're going to be talking about at some point here. Hey, look what Tylan Wallace did to get a chance to get out there. Oh, and by the way, he's making plays on the Baltimore Ravens, which the last few years is a team that all they do is run the football. Well, hopefully, and I'm saying hopefully here just because I like to watch good football, they turn that around and actually use the weapons they got.
Yeah, I'll sell it. I don't know if he's a day 1 starter, but I think what they're going to – and I think they'll learn it pretty quick. Levi, you mentioned he's 6, 7, 8 down on the depth chart. They brought in a ton of receivers in the past few months, draft included. But I think Baltimore, the coaching staff's in for a rather pleasant abrupt surprise because I think once Tylan gets there, he's going to show him just how good he is. I mean, you see what Tylan does out on the field, but you're right. He's not going up against elite defenses game in and game out. He'll face a few elite defenses throughout the year, and he does pretty good. He does really well. He's incredibly athletic, plays bigger than he is, not as fast, but has that ability to go up and he's got incredible body control, great leaping ability. Great hands, like Levi was saying earlier, probably some of the best hands in the draft. And I think he's going to prove in off-season workouts. I think he's going to prove during training camp. I think he's going to prove during the scrimmages they get together with other teams with. And I think he's going to move himself up the depth chart pretty quick before the start of the year. And before the end of the year, I think he'll be knocking on the door of being that starter.
It's kind of like a Rodgers thing, he'll when he gets his chances, what can he do with them?
Absolutely.
Can he prove to everybody that his size and ability can translate to the next level and to the Ravens as well? And you look at John Harbaugh, I think he's a guy that would be willing to give him a chance and then see what he can do. I'm sticking with the NFL with our guys as well out of Oklahoma State. Buy or sell. We talked about Dylan Stoner going to the Raiders. Buy or sell that he sees some playing time in his rookie year, of course, assuming he makes the Raiders and everything. Buy or sell that he eventually does get out there on the field in a real game.
Yeah, for sure. I'll buy that. And I think, and I'll go back to what we talked about last week and the week before that. And I think, honestly, you'll see that playing time come at special teams before you see it coming at receiver. But you look at what Gruden does, the type of players he goes after. You look at what Dylan Stoner was able to do in his years in Stillwater. He's strong. He's durable. We haven't seen too many games missed due to injury. He's unafraid. He'll cut across the middle and he'll get you. 3rd and 6. Dylan, we need 6.5 yards. Got you. He's going to go out there, and then when you move him outside, in the absence of Tylan Wallace, he's going to bring in 200 yards and a couple touchdowns. So I'll buy it. I think he plays special teams before he plays receiver, but I'll buy that he sees playing time at receiver this year for sure.
I could buy him getting playing time as a special teams guy. I don't know if I can with the receiver because I'm looking at the depth chart over there in Las Vegas. Nah, because he's like wide receiver 10 or 11. He's buried because imagine every middle of the pack wide receiver that's been in the NFL. It's probably on that Las Vegas Raiders roster. From whether it's John Brown, Hunter Renfrow, Willie Snead is now there, Brian Edwards, Zay Jones, Trey Quinn, Marcel Aitman has worked himself into the lineup a little bit. Like Dylan Stoner, he'll get to play in the preseason. That's when he'll get to play. He'll get to play in the preseason to claw in for the 53-man roster. I don't know if I can buy him actually getting minutes in an actual NFL game, though, unless they're getting blown out by a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to sell that he is on the field as a receiver. I will buy that he will probably get some special team snaps and see what he can do, but I'm telling you, I can already picture it. All right, this is a guy that we talk about John Gruden getting up there and be like, who's been a tough son of a gun? Dylan Stoner. This kid's been out there, making plays on the practice squad. I like what he's doing. And eventually, he keeps working. He's going to get a chance. But, yeah, you look at the Raiders' offense, and they're already somewhat limited. Like, you guys know I'm not a huge believer, obviously, in Derek Carr. I think he is, he showed that he can do it last year, but he didn't get to utilize guys that I think were big-time playmakers. He got Darren Waller, which is great, but you had Henry Ruggs over there. I mean, come on now. He's someone that should be having success at the next level, and because he's such a speedy deep threat, he doesn't really match what they do over there in that offense. Hunter Renfrow probably had more success than he did. But this is like a spitting image thing of Hunter Renfrow, no doubt. When I look at Dylan Stoner, I just feel like he is a picture-perfect John Gruden guy who maybe sees him. I go back to the Hard Knocks when they were there with the Raiders, when they were looking at all those guys in the offseason, and at that time, Darren Waller was one of them, right? They put him in the preseason games. They're like, this guy can play. And they did that with a couple other receivers. They liked what Hunter Renfrow did and gave him a shot. So maybe he gets something like that eventually down the road. He'll find playing time as a wide receiver on some team at some point in the NFL for a game or two and show what he has. But, yeah, I'm going to sell as a receiver this year that he gets out there. I will buy special teams, so at least get to see the field at some point. And that goes off his work ethic and kind of forcing himself to be noticed a little bit too. So I'm happy for Dylan Stoner. I think it's a great opportunity. We'll see what he can do with it.
Yeah, so I'm sticking football, sticking draft, sticking Oklahoma State. Going Rodarius Williams. Buy or sell, Rodarius records either an interception or a forced fumble in his rookie season.
Yeah. So Rodarius is, as we said, probably cornerback 5 or 6 right now on the New York Giants. I still think that he will get an opportunity here at some point to see the field. And he's long enough to make those plays. That's the thing that we talk about with his length. He's long enough to get around and get in front of receivers. However, he is about to face some of the best at times too, right? When you go out there and any good quarterback that can read the field sees what's going on in the defense, they know and they pinpoint and figure out where's that rookie cornerback. Oh, there's Rodarius Williams over there. What does that mean? That means I'm going to go right at him, and I'm going to probably either torch him because he hasn't seen a lot of this offense yet, or I'm going to make a less than stellar play, and he's going to make a play on the ball, and it could be an interception or something like that. So I'll probably sell because I'm not sure he'll get enough time this year to actually make one of those plays happen, but eventually down the road, he's going to make a name for himself. I really do believe that. Why? Because he's so instinctive with the football as well on the defensive side, and he's also really athletic. We know that. I think he will fit on a team, maybe not the Giants, but later down the road where he'll get a starting opportunity when he'll do some special team stuff like we talked about too. We know he can tackle, so he has that ability. He just so happens to be on a team right now that really the only big-time opportunity he's probably going to get is, like I said earlier, if this defense continues just to get blasted in the secondary, which is possible. We all know it is the New York Giants, for crying out loud. But I still think that's a little bit away for him. But we're talking about Rodarius Williams a few years down the road. Don't worry about that for anyone that's wondering if he'll fade out. I don't think that'll be the case.
He could be, I'm telling you, he could be a guy that could work his way into the system just like Trey Flowers did. He has that kind of willpower, and he has that kind of skill set to where I think he could do it. First year, though, I don't expect much. I think he'll get in there every couple of plays. Basically be the guy where it's like, please make sure you don't get just messed up by guys like a Devontae Adams or a Stephon Diggs or an Amari Cooper. Try to avoid those type of guys. Just play your zone, play your man. Just don't end up getting mossed. That'll be in the game plan whenever he gets in through the depth chart, which it's like 6 or 7 deep. I'm gonna sell on being able to get one of those, but maybe the next year, that's when you see him step up a little bit.
The best cornerbacks have trouble with the best receivers in the league right now, right? They're just so talented. And the time you see, like you talked about there with the Devontae Adams or Stephon Diggs or somebody that ends up facing a cornerback in a rookie year like Rodarius Williams, is because it's a missed assignment, right? You have someone twisted up in the wrong spot on coverage, and he ends up getting in a tough place where he either makes a name for himself real quick because he makes a pick on a ball that was intended for Devontae Adams, or he shuts Devontae Adams down, or Devontae Adams leaves him in the dust or burns him on a quick move like we've seen him do countless times. So he's going to get his chances, man. I really do believe that.
How are you going to see Devontae Adams do that, though? Aren't you blocked?
I'm blocked on his Twitter, but I'm not blocked from watching NFL games. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'll probably sell it as well. If I were to buy one at all, it'd probably be the forced fumble. It could be a strip on special teams or something like that. He did it last year against OU. Probably, I could see maybe in year 2, but then again, I mean, you go back through it, and Rodarius, I think he has two or 3 career interceptions, I think, at OSU. I want to say 2.
He's not a big, like, I'm going to force turnover guy. He's more, I'm just going to make a play on the ball type of guy.
His last interception came against Baylor in 2018.
Yeah.
But you look at his pass breakups, he led the team in pass breakups. He had 7 this past season. I think he had 6 the year before. So, I mean, you're more likely going to see him swat the passes rather than try to bring him in. But I could see him stripping a ball on special teams, but I'll sell it in year 1 and we'll settle on year 2.
We come back on the afternoon sports drive. What's the latest update on the Aaron Rodgers drama? He kind of left everybody in a pile of dust on Friday. Of course, we saw him take pictures at the Kentucky Derby looking like he was completely unbothered. We'll take a look at what's going on in that situation with him and the Packers coming up next. This is the afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio.
Whoa. Staring as I go, I gave until my soul hurt. Never told them so. They're watching as I fall. Somewhere down below.
Welcome back. Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, and Levi Peckinpah here with you on this Monday, live from Glow Salon and Spa. New location at 1121 Southwestern. Guys, it is your easy one-call, one-stop shop for Mother's Day coming up this Sunday. Call them at 624-4444 or online at glowsalon-spa.com. This past year has been so hard on moms everywhere, and the lady in your life needs a relaxing getaway break at least for one day. So if it's your mom or your wife, even a special aunt or a niece, how about a day for them at Glow Salon and Spa, or even a day at the spa every single month, available here at Glow Salon and Spa. Patrick Wheeler and Zach Lancaster live, and Levi Peckapaw as well. So let's take a look, guys. We talked about Friday. It was still kind of fresh powder, if you will, out there with in terms of Aaron Rodgers in the news. He basically comes out and says on draft day, hey, don't want to be here anymore. Only find out the next day that he's told players that as well, and he's basically told teammates, look, I'm not coming back. The latest news coming over the weekend was he says he won't be back if the GM, Brian Gutekunst, is still there. Brian Gutekunst has been this guy that I went off on Friday for saying what he said the other day, trying to tell everybody that they probably should have done a better job communicating with Aaron Rodgers when it came to who they were selecting in the draft last year. And I'm thinking to myself still this whole time, no team actually has to communicate with their players when it comes to the draft. No, there's nothing that ever says, we have to ask our players here or our quarterback, hey, what would you like? What would you do? But if there ever were quarterbacks that should have a say or have their opinion heard and listened to, right, it would probably be Aaron Rodgers. Like we've seen Patrick Mahomes already being that last year. Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Tom Brady gets to say. Drew Brees got to say whenever he was still playing. You got those guys that, what they said mattered. But I'm telling you, there's some behind-the-scenes drama gone on here between Gutekunst and Aaron Rodgers that we don't know about yet, because I'm not fully convinced that it's just the Jordan Love thing. I think that was a big part of it, but there was probably some sort of discussion that went down about that we still don't know about, that probably went the wrong way, if we're being completely honest. It probably took a bad turn where you might have had some he said, she said type of stuff going on, but I don't blame Aaron Rodgers for taking it personally, obviously, with what they did in the draft last year or so, and especially this year too. They ended up getting a wide receiver later in the draft, but they passed on it in the first round, and they went and got Stokes instead on the defensive side. So the question is, do they basically listen to Aaron Rodgers and say, all right, let's fire the GM. Let's ask the GM to resign. And I would have to think that if they want to win right now, you basically ask the GM to resign. You're like, look, Aaron Rodgers is our best chance to win. If our goal is to win Super Bowls at this moment and have a chance, we got to keep him around. Yeah. And if he says he won't come back unless you're gone, dude, I'm sorry, but we really need you to leave. But I really do believe they're juggling something dangerous here. Yeah. Because if you do go through with this and you say, all right, Aaron Rodgers says you got to go, so you got to go, you are setting a precedent for teams everywhere to understand that we are now handing over control to a player where he basically gave the demand, if this doesn't happen, this is what's going on. We saw what the Texans did in response with Deshaun Watson, right? He basically said the same thing. And we were like, dude, really? There was more, obviously, backlash from people like us that talked about it because he had been the guy that already signed the extension and all this stuff too. But when he said, hey, I don't want the GM to be here anymore. I don't like it. I'm not going to play. Well, the Texans' response was, we'll go out and get Tyrod Taylor, we'll find something else, and we'll make sure everything is okay, and we don't care what you do. Well, the Packers are in a situation right now where it's like, man, we really want Aaron Rodgers, but if we do this, we are letting everybody know that the players are now having ultimate control, and it kind of reminds me like the NBA in a way. If you look at what the players have been able to do in terms of who they want coming in to coach and all this stuff, and basically making the rules at times for these coaches, who can do this on a team if you're a superstar, and a lot of that's been viewed in a negative light. You don't want to see that translate over to the National Football League, where, by the way, I didn't even bring up the ratings for the draft. It was through the roof. Like 12 million people watched on the first round. That's unbelievable. 12 million people for just a draft. Anything the NFL does, people stop and they watch it. They don't want this to be something that messes that up. So I think they're in a really dangerous spot right now with trying to respond to what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. So if they go through with the idea of, look, he says he's not going to come back until you're gone because he's coming back. We got a new receiver. We don't know if he's going to be, how quick we're going to get him in. But we still like the team that we have right now. We were a game away from getting back to the Super Bowl last year. We've obviously had our problems, but Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are talking things through, and we're going to at least have him for one more year and get a chance to get back there and take down Tom Brady and the Bucs, because there's a good chance we may see them again in the NFC Championship game. So there's a lot riding on this decision right here. If it is true that Aaron Rodgers is not coming back unless he's gone, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you really have a tough time navigating this. You talk about a rock in a hard place.
No, absolutely, because you look at it, I mean, if you're looking at the GM, you go back the past 2 or 3 seasons, have there been any home run hires or signings or draft picks? Someone that you're like, okay, you know what? That guy traded, he traded this, a couple of worthless players, and he ended up drafting the 4th best overall player who's going to be a franchise guy for us. He has not. He's made kind of bonehead decisions, and that's the hard situation that he's put management in. Aaron Rodgers has put management in, because based on performance, maybe he shouldn't be the GM. But now Aaron Rodgers coming out and saying, well, and that's another thing. You want to keep your franchise quarterback happy, and it's not like you're keeping Mitch Trubisky happy. Well, hey, we drafted him. He's our guy. No, you're trying to keep an MVP happy. You're trying to keep a guy that could go out and win a Super Bowl happy. Now, do you listen to that guy and say, okay, you don't want him here. We need you more than we need him. Let's go ahead and make that happen. Because I think if you do that, not only are you setting a bad precedent for a dangerous precedent across the league, but you're setting a dangerous precedent in that organization for Aaron Rodgers. Because Aaron Rodgers has another 2 or 3 seasons. They bring in another guy. Let's say they don't gel. Let's say he consults Aaron on everything. He does this, he does that, but Aaron's like, I just don't like the guy. I don't think he's a good GM. You need to get rid of him. What's that say to other quarterbacks across the league?
Right, and especially the young ones. And it's not like I'm saying this would ever happen, but if this did go through, okay, 10 years down the road,
absolutely.
If Patrick Mahomes isn't happy with what's going on in Kansas City, are they going to listen when he says GM's got to go or I don't come back? Same with any of the top young quarterbacks right now.
Well, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, do we get rid of our GM? Do we potentially start a revolution amongst franchise players, or do we lose an MVP caliber quarterback who has another 2 to 3 seasons of potential MVP caliber seasons left in him? Do we stick with Jordan Love, who, let's be honest, we probably shouldn't have drafted in the first place based on just talent alone? Do we risk losing our quarterback, or do we get rid of a GM we probably shouldn't have to begin with?
Well, and I think that Gutekunst wouldn't be all that upset if Aaron Rodgers was gone. I think you'd have more people upset, like Matt LaFleur would be someone who would be, really, he talked about it the other day, and today actually, can't imagine Aaron Rodgers not being on the team. And I really do believe that's the case.
I'd have
more
to think
so coaching, though.
I'd have to think the people that also shell out thousands of dollars for tickets and their hard-earned cash for jerseys would probably be a little upset that they kept a GM over an MVP quarterback.
Yeah, and Levi, does this maybe, too, if this were to happen and Aaron Rodgers were to say goodbye, does it kind of set a domino effect into play where you get somebody like Devontae Adams is like, I'm not going to play either. If my guys, if you're not going to make room for Aaron Rodgers, maybe I find my way out. Maybe you get some guys on the defensive side that refuse to do it. I think that the Packers are tiptoeing something really dangerous here.
There's potential for that, but also with the GM at Green Bay, he's built up a lot of what's there. And you might be thinking, really, wait, what? Yeah, he's the reason why Zadarius Smith's there. He's the reason they drafted Jair Alexander. A lot of some of those big pieces are there because of him. He's been in the organization since 2012. Yes, Aaron Rodgers has been there a lot more, but he's been around since early 2010s, and he's been and seen a lot of various things. And since he's been a scout for Green Bay since 1988, this isn't the first time he's dealt with this. You know what other QB was around the same scenario? A guy by the name of Brett Favre. So now you're in this type of scenario, and the thing is different with Brett Favre is you could tell if with Brett Favre it was kind of getting. Still was able to get a little bit out of him in Minnesota, if I believe right. But the difference between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers was an MVP last season. This would probably all be different if he just had an average year or below average year. Then we'd all be sitting here, ship off Aaron Rodgers, and let's get someone new to help the franchise, which they already have the heir apparent in Jordan Love, apparently. Like, it's almost a carbon copy of what they tried to do with Brett Favre, and they succeeded with that. And it's all depending on, are you willing to bet the same boat you did about 10 years ago? That's the whole thing. Yeah. Are you willing to risk it all again? Because here's the thing. There's a chance that next season Aaron Rodgers drops off and we all say, wow, that was a great move by Green Bay. But there's also a good chance he goes on a tear with, say, like Denver. Or that to me is like the only other team that's available now since everyone else has gathered a quarterback. So you might run into some trouble with that GM, but the thing is, the GM has built up pretty much everything else that's been with that team, and he's been with the organization for longer than Aaron Rodgers has been. So it's kind of whatever you want to play as devil's advocate. I believe it's his either third or fourth year as GM. I think you should maybe rock with the GM, and I think that's what a lot of teams do. They either rock with your coach or you rock with whoever's been in your organization the longest. But then again, you might be playing a slippery slope because you might be saying, oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to go off somewhere else. Well, here's the thing. There's a great chance that doesn't happen and that the eventual brick wall that happens. Or you see just like how Tom Brady is and it feels like nothing left. Like it just continues to go, or it's kind of like you could have Peyton Manning where there's a little bit of good years left and then eventually maybe tapers off. But it's willing if you're wanting to risk the biscuit, which here's the thing. If I am Green Bay, I think I risk it. Because think about it, you're going to get a great piece from most likely Denver. The pieces could range from Von Miller to Cortland Sutton. Here's the thing: if say Devontae Adams' co-mate is now Cortland Sutton, you're not going to hear a peep from Devontae Adams. If you get Von Miller, you potentially have another great defense that could take you along the way. And you might be one of those teams where it's kind of like way back when with the Chicago Bears, where that defense carries and you got Jordan Love to coast. So you could put yourself in a great financial situation, in a great stability situation if you send off Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and that's the positive side of it too. But they would have to be ready to accept. Okay, we've gone from a perennial deep postseason team to potential Super Bowl making threat here to who knows, middle of the pack, depending on who they get. If it comes over a quarterback or if it's Jordan Love that's taking over and they still have Devontae Adams, there's still hope there. But it's not the Aaron Rodgers type of play they're used to.
And the thing is, we still don't know what we have in Jordan Love. Whenever he was drafted, we all figured he had some type of potential, but we just never knew. And the thing that just hurt for him is he just didn't need to go to Green Bay because of what streak Aaron Rodgers has been on. So all the potential that he had from that draft, it's almost went down to zero because everybody's like, oh, you got compare him to Aaron Rodgers because he's on the same team. But he hasn't seen a snap on the field yet. He has not seen one iota of a minute. So we truly don't know how to judge a guy like Jordan Love. It's, again, the same situation of how things wrapped up with Brett Favre when you didn't want Aaron Rodgers to get a lot of playing time back then because Brett Favre was the guy. So it's just all on Green Bay. Are they willing to pull the trigger that they did a decade ago? Can they do it? And are they willing to, at that point, risk what success you will have within the next 3 to 4 years for potential longevity in the NFL? And I'm saying potential because Jordan Love may not guarantee success. He might guarantee mediocrity.
Well, and if you look at when Jordan Love was drafted, right, there were some numbers that were down for Aaron Rodgers, and I think the team probably thought, all right, we're about to enter into this latter part of his career where he just kind of falls off, and it's not his fault. You know, he just gets old. Quarterbacks get old, and the arm strength falls off, and maybe you're not as accurate. And while the numbers were down a bit, the production was down a bit. We saw what he can do. He comes back and just rips off an MVP season at that age, and it wasn't all that much of a struggle at all. Like, he was just torching defenses unbelievably well, and obviously pent-up motivation was involved. And I don't have a huge issue with Gutekunst as the GM with everything he's done in the past, because I agree, Levi. He's made some great moves, especially defensively. He's gotten some really solid players on that side. I have a problem with how he's handled this situation with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's navigated it enough or properly, and it certainly seems, if everything that Rodgers and the leaks are saying is true, that he's been left out of the loop in this situation. And if that does prove to be true, that's a problem. I don't care who you are. If Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback and you don't have him involved in this decision-making, because, look, the Packers' idea may have been to pull what Kansas City did, for instance, where you're able to grab a guy, you sit him behind your starter for a year or two, he absorbs and comes out and explodes. Like, that's what Mahomes did after Alex Smith. They were trying to maybe think of the same thing happening with the Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't think in their plans, in that grand scheme right there, involved Aaron Rodgers having an MVP-type season, right? If this all goes the way that the Packers wanted to, him doing what he did last year may actually be the worst thing for their franchise in the long run, because now they're in this situation with him.
The main thing also is just, do you have an actual replacement? Because if you don't have any type of replacement in mind, you're not making this move. You're not going to fire your GM. Because this also stems from before this all big news of like he wants to leave Green Bay. They were going through contract negotiations. They were going to bring back Aaron Rodgers. So once the contract negotiation soured, so did Aaron Rodgers. So if I am Green Bay, I maybe try to go back to what kind of numbers Aaron Rodgers was wanting, to just spoil this all out. It's kind of like how with court. You settle it out of court. You settle this out of media, and then you announce that contract extension. Because I think that might be what this whole problem is. Yes, there were several problems, and also you go back to what happened this past season with Green Bay. They had enough talent. It was the play calling that was also very mixed signals. And you throw that over to the GM. The GM's going to take the heat because he's not going to give Aaron Rodgers what he wants. So at this point, financially, you're going to take some bumps and hits everywhere else, but you might just want to give Aaron Rodgers what he wants, and that way, after that point, with what you're going to be dealing with him wanting all that money, then you might be able to make some moves afterwards. But I just really think it would be a bad type of move to move on with what's going on. If you move on from Aaron Rodgers, you better have that replacement. If you're going to keep Aaron Rodgers, you better be wary of who you're going to put in that GM spot.
Yeah, I think one thing's clear out of all this, that Aaron Rodgers is the winner, right? He's put himself in a spot where either he gets his money and he comes back to Green Bay and everything's fine and dandy, or he goes to wherever he wants to eventually here and gets to see what he does with a different team, and by the way, still makes a lot of money. So I think he's in the driver's seat at this point. He knows that. He knew that when the league came out. The loser so far is the organization, because they are in an extremely tough spot trying to figure out what to do in this situation. It's one of two outcomes for me. He either ends up on another team, we talk about that as a huge story, or he suits up and he's day one out there with the Packers, and we're all like, remember all that? It's kind of like the Seahawks stuff with Russell Wilson, right? There were a lot of talk that he was going to be out. Well, that never happened, and I don't think a lot of people would be shocked if they did come to terms. However, if they do, we may be talking about setting a pretty dangerous precedent with the players.
What's most likely going to happen is within like the next month or so, you're going to hear, oh, Aaron Rodgers has like a 2-year extension for like $70 million, and we're all just going to forget about this.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all. When we come back on the afternoon sports drive, we'll tell you what we learned to round out this Monday, coming up next.
Feel like I'm gonna puke, cause my taxes are due. Do my password begin with a 1 or a 2? Been a hell of a ride, but I'm thinking it's time to grow.
Metronome.
Man, I'm up to something. Oodie-la-dee-do, thank you all for coming. I hope you like the show, cause it's on a budget. So oodie-la-dee-do, yeah. Come on, here we go, yeah. Come on.
Here we go.
Welcome back in Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Levi Peckinpah is with us too, and we are live at Glow Salon and Spa, getting ready to say goodbye. But make sure you come check them out over here at the new location, 1121 Southwestern. Call them up at 624-4444. And the sports fans, look, we know it's been a crazy year. Trust me, we do. And with Mother's Day coming up May 9th, you can give your wife or your mom a great day away from this crazy year that we went through with a Glow Salon and Spa gift certificate, so she can choose exactly what she wants on her day away. You don't have to worry about anything. Just get the gift card, give it to her, and you've got a happy mom, wife, sister, you name it. They're going to come in and enjoy themselves at Glow Salon and Spa. To finish out the show, we're going to tell you what we learned.
The day is coming to an end. Time to find out if these two got any smarter. Let's find out what the guys learned today on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Well, I learned something today.
So the other day, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Kyle Shanahan was being asked about, okay, is Jimmy G going to be around? Is he still going to be on the team after the draft? You know, is he still going to be a 49er when this is all said and done? And his response was, I don't even know who's going to be alive. I can't guarantee anyone's going to be alive on Sunday. And, you know, I thought it was a pretty great response. It was like, okay, that's one way to skirt around it.
That's how I'm going to start responding to things.
Look, I don't even know who's going to be – are we going to be here on Sunday? I don't know.
Are you coming to my birthday party in August? I don't even know if I'll be
alive. I don't even know if I'll be alive that day. So he said that, and the Niners did a fantastic inside troll job on Sunday. A bunch of them called Kyle Shanahan up in a group and let them know that, in fact, they were still alive on this Sunday. And I thought to myself that had to have been led by George Kittle, right? It had to have been. Can't you see George Kittle being like, Coach, I'm still kicking it over here, man. Still breathing. We're good. And Jimmy G's still alive, too, and no one knows what his role's going to be this next season. There's a good chance still he might not even be here, but he is still alive, so there you go. I thought that was a great great little troll job by the Niners, who love Kyle Shanahan, by the way. They're like, look, if he's going to say something that outrageous, I mean, that was not the answer I was expecting to that question when asked about Jimmy G. I was expecting more of your traditional, well, just see what happens, He's our guy. Jimmy G's our guy. We like him over here. And I was like, I don't even know who's going to be alive, man. He might not be alive. I might not be alive on Sunday.
What a response.
What a response.
We might all be dead. I don't know. So I found out today DK Metcalf is going to attempt to qualify for the Olympics as a sprinter.
Wow.
I'm a big fan of crossover athletes. Michael Jordan playing baseball. You got Bo Jackson playing a little football, a little baseball. Deion Sanders, a little football, a little baseball. So DK Metcalf will put his speed to the ultimate test this coming Sunday. He's going to compete at the USA Track and Field's Golden Games in the 100-meter dash. I think we can all agree that DK Metcalf is he's pretty quick. Clocked in at 4.33 at a 40-yard dash back in 2019, weighing a whopping 228 pounds. It's insane. Clocked in his estimated top speed of 22.64 miles an hour. So that was that impressive video that is now a meme of him chasing. Excuse me, sir. Do you have time to talk to your Lord and Savior? So it's estimated that he will likely need to break 10.2 seconds on the 100-meter, while a 10.05 would automatically qualify him. So if he breaks and this is just to qualify for the trials, the Olympic trials. So this isn't, okay, you do that and you're in the Olympics. He has to likely need a 10.2, while a 10.05 would automatically qualify him for the Olympic trials. But I think it's interesting. I mean, he's huge. He'll obviously be the biggest sprinter there. Was a sprinter and hurdler in high school, didn't compete in track and field at Ole Miss, but certainly going to bring some eyes to the Golden Games. I don't think many people were going to watch. I think they will now because it's a spectacle. But it's not going to be embarrassing. It's not like Conor McGregor jumping into a boxing ring. It's not like Jake Paul jumping in a boxing ring. This guy's a legitimate athlete. He's a very fast runner. So why not put a fast runner in a sprinting competition?
I love DK Metcalf, man.
Absolutely.
He's, watching, I'll never forget that play last year where Russ throws a pick near the goal line. Budda Baker looks like he's got a clear pick six, and then coming into the frame is DK Metcalf from the opposite side of the field and tracks him down. Yeah, the one that became a meme.
Said he was estimated like 117 and some change yards.
I mean, I can't imagine Budda Baker ever thinking after a pick that he made that DK Metcalf was actually going to be the star of that play. It was really unbelievable. But here's my thing. I don't think the Seahawks, still to this point, they don't use him enough, man. He is a freakish athlete. You saw the size, his speed, and there was games last year where he would come away with 2 catches, 3 catches. It was like, are you kidding me? Like, you're not using this guy enough. Then they tried to force feed it to him in the playoffs. It didn't really work. So I think he's a fantastic athlete, has a chance to be that next Megatron-type guy. But, man, they got to get him the ball more. I know they have weapons in Seattle, but, yeah, that's going to be fun. He's incredibly fast for his size. You saw the picture of him that's also become a meme of him literally looking like he has a Batman suit for a body. It's just unbelievable. So that's cool. Yeah, keep an eye on that, see how fast he can really go. This has been the Afternoon Sports Drive here on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Again, thank you to Glow Salon and Spa. Come check them out. Perfect one-stop shop for Mother's Day. Do not forget this Sunday. Mark it on your calendar. Make sure you come in here and get it done before that day does come this weekend. That's Levi Peckinpah. Thanks to him. You can check out his actually, no, I think, Levi, you're done, right, for a while with your show?
Oh, yeah. I wrapped it up last Thursday with the NFL Draft.
There you go. That's a good way to end it. There you go. You get to talk about the draft. So,
on a bang, baby.
There you go, on a bang. You can catch him with us throughout the week at different times, so appreciate him. And then that's Zach Lancaster. I'm Patrick Wheeler. This has been the Afternoon Sports Drive. We'll see you tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Everyone have a fantastic Monday evening.